to another episode of the Total R&B Podcast. My name is Loreena, and today I have another amazing guest. She is a singer, she's a songwriter, and a producer, and I would say instrumentalist because she plays some instruments. You may know her from season 12 of The Voice, but she has shared stages with some of today's icons like John Legend, Deborah Cox, Angie Stone even. And her latest project is amazing. It's called A Soft Place to Land. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. It's a really good project. It actually surpassed 1 million streams within its first month of being released, which is amazing. So please welcome to the podcast, Felicia Temple. How are you?
Hello, I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with me. I'm excited to talk to you and learn more about your journey.
Great. I'm excited. Let's get started.
My first question is the same question I ask everybody the first time they come on the podcast, which is what comes to mind when I say, what is your first memory of R&B music?
My first memory of R&B music, I would say for me would be, and I guess it would be more pop than anything, but Mariah Carey was my favorite. Between Mariah, Whitney, and Michael Jackson were like on rotation in my house growing up. I don't know how old you are, but there was a live concert of Michael Jackson live in Budapest. Okay. It's a running family joke that I watched the tape so much, the VHS, that the VHS broke. And my parents freaked out and had to find another copy because I broke the VHS. Like,
I love that. Oh my gosh. I feel that because my sister, I have an older sister, so she would videotape all of like the music videos. And I would literally stand in front of the TV, me and my little sister, like stand in front of the TV to watch Michael Jackson and all those other music videos that we got. I understand that because I wore out the VHS too. Don't worry.
Yes. I memorized, I knew when the people were going to fall out, the stretchers would, come up, the ambulance, people would come running. It was great.
I know it was so exciting. Like
it was a magical era of music.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh. We don't have that anymore at all. Yeah, that was a time.
That was a time.
And then also then we have a mutual English teacher, Mariah Carey, because
people, I'm so glad you said that because not enough people give her credit as a writer, but also the words that she uses in her lyrics are like, as a kid, I didn't know what some of the words meant. I was just singing them. Her writing and the vocabulary that she uses in said writing, incredible. Yeah. Incredible.
No, it's amazing how she could just have those words flow within the song. Like you understand what the song is about, but those specific words that she uses sometimes, like I just remember sitting down with like the booklet and just reading the lyrics, not understanding some of the words and having to like look it up in a dictionary because
like you ever heard like Breakdown with Bone Thugs and Harmony?
Yep.
When she says, I guess I'm trying to be nonchalant about it. I'm going through extremes to prove I'm fine without you. But in reality, I'm slowly losing my mind. Underneath the guise of a smile, gradually I'm dying inside. Friends ask me how I feel and I lie convincingly because I don't want to reveal the facts that I'm so for real. Like, I don't know. I just feel like the wordplay, the vocabulary that she uses is just, who says underneath the guise of a smile? Like,
exactly.
I just love her. And how can you put the word nonchalant in a song? Love Mariah. Love.
Yeah, no, I love Mariah. I have like almost all her albums. When I started to be able to like purchase music, that's one of the first, I think, cassette tapes that I got was Mariah Carey.
My parents have a tape of me at 3 singing Vision of Love, but it was Vision of Love. And I mean, I was doing the whole thing at that. And for 3, I was not bad. She is my ultimate, like my all-time favorite.
Oh my gosh. So then if you had the opportunity to do a duet with Mariah, what do you think that would sound like?
I don't know, because I would be terrified to like, people say don't meet your heroes or whatever, or, Mariah is known to be such a diva. And I just love that. I think I love her so much. I wouldn't even care if she was mean. Like I I just adore her. I cringe every time I see tributes to her because I'm like, nobody should do it. Nobody should just stop singing her songs. Just stop it. Stop right now. Just like nobody should do cover Prince. Don't do it. Just leave it alone.
Or they should have called you. They could have had you in there.
No, because she has said publicly, just like Prince used to say, I don't like it when people cover my music. So, no, just don't. How about that?
Yeah.
But if I did a duet with Mariah, I mean, when I've heard other people do duets with her recently, I think it was, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting that guy's name. On that, there was a song and it was like a Christmas song, and Kirk Franklin was on it too. My goodness, I'm Giveon. Wasn't Giveon on the song with her?
I don't know. I'm going blank here.
I think Giveon is on that song with her.
It was Giveon.
But every time I hear Mariah and somebody else on a song with her, I'm like, I mean, I guess.
I think you could.
I think you just have to stick to your style, stick to your lane, stop swerving. As long as you do what you do best and try not to be her, because you could never be her.
Yeah. But I think that would be amazing. So hopefully that does happen. You guys cross
from your mouth to God's ears.
That would be so exciting. But I want to talk about your upbringing, because you come from a musical family. I think hearing you say that you were singing Vision of Love at 3 would probably be normal, because your father was a musician too, and you have a aunt and uncle they were in a group, and your grandmother.
It's crazy. My entire family does music, to the point that when I started going to school, in school choir was the first time I realized, oh my God, not everybody can sing. I thought everybody could sing, because in my house growing up, everybody that I knew, every cousin, everybody could sing. But my grandmother was a decorated artist, and she used to sing. I still have her cabaret license in New York City in the 60s, in the 50s and 60s. You used to need a license to perform in public halls and cabarets to be a performer. You couldn't just go and walk in any place and sing. I still have her actual license card with her face on it. Her name was Shirley Temple, funny enough. Yeah, she was absolutely stunning, and she was performing to the day she died. My father is a multi-instrumentalist. He can play literally everything he picks up. He sings, and then he's been touring the world for the past 30 years with the Sugar Hill Gang. And he's still on the road with them. My God, he's out and about. So those are like my uncles. I grew up with them, giving me money and giving me candy, and doing rehearsals at my house. If I hear Apache one more time, I'm going to lose it. Because they rehearsed in the basement of my parents' house. My aunt and uncle were named Conway and Temple, and they were the first artists ever signed to Jive. Their song was Jesse Jackson's campaign song when he campaigned for president.
That is amazing.
Wild times.
But to be included now in that history, that is amazing. Do you feel any pressure to carry on their legacy? Because that's amazing, from your grandmother to Sugar Hill Gang with their legends. That's a lot.
I think with every generation, I watch us get closer and closer to. There's so much greatness in my family, but I feel like there's so much, for my grandmother, because of the times, the likelihood of her being this famous artist of her own right, recording artist, it just wasn't in the cards for her. And I watch my dad and the things that he's done, and I'm like, man, my dad made a lot of choices because he was a dad. When I was born, he had an opportunity to sign with Sony Japan, and my dad was doing Jersey House at the time. And it was, an ultimatum was given to him. You can take that deal or be a dad, one or the other. And he chose his children. And because of that, my dad, even though he's been touring the world, he's never got to fully fulfill his dream. And I have this dream of my own. But I do know, especially with my dad, he has such a sense of pride. He's like, she's going to be the one to do it finally. So I don't know if I feel the pressure so much. I think the pressure comes from me, myself, and what I've wanted ever since I was conscious enough to know it's all I've ever wanted to do.
Wow. No, but it's just beautiful to come from a family that has done so much for the music industry already, and just to see like where your grandmother came from, having to have that card and just doing it for the love of it, and during, especially during that time, and as a woman as well, is amazing. And then, you know, your dad is another generation that was doing his thing, but he made choices. Is that why too you still went to school and now you're also a nurse? Did that influence you?
Big time, because I watched my dad tour the world with the Sugar Hill Gang, and at the same time he was a police officer, and he literally switched shifts with people. You know, he did all kinds of things to get extended amounts of time off, and he would tour Europe in the summers and do all this and then come back, and he always told me, you know, God gave you this gift and that's not going anywhere. He's like, I can tell you, I've met some people that deserve to be on the top of the charts, people who deserve to have all these Grammys. I've met some of the most talented people, and you know what they're doing? They're a waitress, or they don't have any job at all. They're starving, and the landlord doesn't care about your dreams. So you need to have something that nobody can take away from you, and then go do all the things. And it was the best thing he ever told me. And granted, who knows? Would I be maybe further if I jumped out the window and went the starving artist direction and didn't go to college? And maybe, but as I can see from the state of the music industry, even now, when you are at the top of the top, it's not just music that brings in that income anymore. It's barely music, you know, it's all the other things, and the, you know, brand deals and, you know, licensing opportunities, things like that. It's like other things, people branching out, doing collaborations or clothes. Look at Rihanna, she's doing beauty. It's all the other things. You leverage your celebrity from making music to really make the money. So I'm glad, especially as an indie artist, that I have something that enables me to make choices that a lot of indie artists, unfortunately, aren't in the position to make. You know, I can say no. I can afford to say no to certain opportunities if it doesn't suit me. I can make the music that I want to make, and I can release it at my pace. And I feel really, really fortunate.
Yeah, I think that is really smart, because you hear so many stories of people that are trying to make it, or people that should have been, like your dad was saying, they should have been bigger or on the charts and different things like that. And you see them struggling in their stories. So I think it's really smart that you were able to get that advice. You were able to complete school, because even if you do decide to jump off the ledge, you have something to fall back on.
At this point, I have quite a few friends who have a few Grammys, and they're like, you did the right thing. They're like, these Grammys don't pay any bills. You know, they're like, you have it made. They're like, you think you think it's hard because you're going to work in the hospital, but your math always maths. You know, with music, sometimes the math don't be mathing.
No, it's true. And then when I found out like a Grammy is like $15 to make, I was like, what?
Man,
Crazy.
robbery. It's just robbery. Did you know that even if you get nominated for a Grammy, you still have to pay to attend?
What? That I didn't know.
Yes.
Whoa. Okay. I
And
didn't
your
know that.
guests.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious. I'm a Recording Academy member. I'm a voting member. I vote every year. And yes. And a lot of indie artists have complained that have been nominated. They're like, it's already an expensive enough weekend with all the, you got to fly there. A lot of people don't live in LA. You have to stay. And then you're trying to put up a front because you're nominated. You know, you got to look good. You got to do all these things. And then the biggest award show of the year in music world, you're nominated, but you got to pay to be there. You got to buy a ticket.
That is very interesting, because I even just heard, I think it's like the same thing with the, what is it, the NAACP award.
Yes.
You got to pay for that. And I was just like, well, that's so hard with the smaller creators and the indie artists to get all that money together to pay to be there.
Yeah.
And I assumed as a fan of these things, award shows and artists, that if you're nominated, you get a ticket to go. I did not know that.
Oh, man. Even for voting members, people don't realize, the audience that you're seeing, besides seat fillers, to fill in all kind of the gaps on the floor and to make the room look full, the rest of the room is full of voting members from the Recording Academy. And those tickets can go anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 to $3,000. And there's no reselling. You can't sell them to somebody who's not it has to be you plus a guest that you invite. Somebody has to be with you that's a Recording Academy member. You only get a 1+1 and you pay for both those tickets. And I mean, you can pay just under $2,000 to be sitting on 300 level. The floors for the nominees. So imagine how expensive that gets when you're nominated and you want to celebrate the biggest moment in your career.
Wild. I had no clue. Well, thank you for that information, because I will keep my butt at home or at a watch party, because, yeah.
I always say a lot of years I'm in LA during Grammy time just to go to the parties and have a good time. This year I said I need to be home. I have some other things that I need to be tending to. But I promised myself I would never walk into the Grammys until I'm nominated and I'm walking the red carpet. Nominated. Yeah. I don't want to go there and sit at the 300 level.
No, you might as well watch it on TV.
You get a much better view that way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Crazy. But even still, with being a nurse and then as an artist, because today as an artist, like you said, you have to have different things. You can't just be an artist and sing the songs. Like, it's a whole production. And then there's social media on top of that, which takes up a lot of time and energy. So how do you balance all of that?
I think a really important thing for me in this past year especially has been figuring out what team I actually need, what things need to be outsourced. And an important part of that is kind of trial and error, right? You see what you can do on your own. I think being someone like me who's OCD, who's a lot of indie artists, right? We want everything has to be our creative vision. We're like all little Kanye West, right? Like, it's my stuff. I got to see it through. But in this era of the indie artist being everything, you have to learn quickly what you're not good at or what you could do, but it would be a whole lot better and it would be a better investment for someone who is a master in their craft to do that. You know, if I'm not strong at doing any kind of content whatsoever, but I have the capability to hire somebody who that's what they do full time, I think it's worth your while to do that. And I think a lot of people are not learning that lesson fast enough. Just because you can record yourself, just because you have the capability, if you're not good at it, absolutely get your trial runs in. But it's a worthy cause to go to the studio and still pay for that session time, because you're going to get a clearer sound. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Yeah.
No, that it's true. It's true. I know, like, for people, they're worried about, I guess, the money aspect of it, but I feel like certain things you do have to invest in yourself, because that's when you'll see the greater return. I feel like if you don't and you keep going on that same path of trying to do everything alone, you're kind of going to be in a hamster wheel.
I mean, even take Duran Bernard is a great example. For instance, I saw a post of his and he was saying, like, you know, Duran's been putting out music for quite a bit of time. But before he was doing it all on his own. And he said Bloom was the first time that he kind of branched out and was like, you know, I'm not going to write all this by myself. Like, I'm going to get people to come on and like collaborate with me and people to brainstorm with me and do this thing. And you see how he literally bloomed just from having the team, having people, having collaborators. It's important. You can get somewhere by yourself, but it may not be very far because no one does this alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how did you find people on your team? Because that's another important thing. I ask a lot of, especially indie artists, like finding management or a PR person or a lawyer or what have you. A lot of times they have bad stories or they have a hard time finding someone that really understands them and will champion for them.
I think it's a combination of recommendations from people that I really trust or already work with, and also them finding me. I still don't have management, right? But I have an entire team behind me. Shout out to Lavender Clouds. They're like a mini world unto themselves. Just a few guys that know a little bit of everybody and do a little bit of everything. They know how to get the job done. That having people that can connect dots that you can't connect is highly, highly valuable. And they approached me, you know, like, hey, I think I can do XYZ for you. And I was like, At first, like, I'm very protective over my stuff. I don't want, and it's like, let me just show you. Let me just do this for you and see how you feel about it. And it's blossomed into such a beautiful relationship. I feel like I don't get people involved unless it shows worthy of that. Management right now for me, I don't know that, not to downplay myself, but I'm like, I don't know if there's anything so big going on right now that I can't manage it on my own that is worthy of giving someone 15 or 20 or sometimes 25% of the gig or the business deal. Right now, I can manage it on my own, and I will manage it on my own until I feel like it's out of hand. I can't do it alone. And I feel like at the point when it starts to get out of hand, that person will find me.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that makes sense. And that's amazing that you were able to find like a small team that takes care of a lot of the different aspects for you, like the day-to-day stuff. I think that's amazing. So for whoever's listening or watching, that's something to really take in because I've heard some crazy stories. So I'm always curious to see how people connect to
You
build
know,
their brand.
and it's been many years of trying to figure out who the best fit is. I've had people come in and try to say they think they could manage me, and there's certain things that I bring up. If you don't know what an ISRC number is, you can't manage me, right? If I'm making phone calls that you can't make,
Yeah.
This is a problem. I need someone whose reach is beyond me. And also, not for nothing, managers especially are difficult to come by because for an indie artist, a manager is a thankless job. And a lot of the best managers are people who don't do it anymore because some artist thought that, a manager is supposed to be the investor, supposed to be their bank account, or, they put so much time and effort into an artist for them to be like, you know what? I just don't want to do this anymore. And they're like, I've been so hurt. I've been so burned. I don't want to do it anymore. So it's hard to find someone who wants to grow with you. It's a super thankless job. And a lot of times there's no money involved for a long time. Yeah. And you just have to be willing to stick it out with them until. That's why I love seeing Victoria Monet's story, how when she won a Grammy, she thanked her manager because she's like, you've been with me from day one. When she was just a writer and like there was kind of not much going on, but she was trying to figure her way out as an artist. She's had that same woman as a manager for all that time. So I'm like, ooh, she gave that woman her flowers. I'm sure she deserved it.
Yeah, definitely. That was a beautiful moment to see. Like, I always like when people are recognizing the team that they have around them because a lot of times you don't hear those stories of those people that work in the industry behind the scenes a lot. Especially I find now because everything is digital, so we don't even have the booklets for the CD to really see who was a part of it and different things like that. So I think it's really cool when they get their shine.
Absolutely.
I wanted to talk about your career. So, growing up in a musical family, how did you start your career? Was it going out? Did you do talent shows? Was it going out to different showcases, different things like that? Like, how did you start performing?
So of course I did like school talent shows. I remember I grew up in a town called Teaneck, New Jersey, and they had Teaneck Teen Idol, and I did the very first edition, and I lost. Okay, I lost. I was second place to Scott Khalil Daniel. I love him so dearly, and we're good friends now. But we always laugh, and he'll be like, "I beat her in Teaneck Teen Idol." I grew up doing a lot of talent shows more than anything, musicals in high school, regional choirs, county choirs, those kind of things that just overall trained my voice. But as far as performing, the first thing I was doing was going out with my dad. Like I was on recordings with my dad and I was young, like 12, 13. Then I started going on the road with him. And especially because my dad does house music. I don't know if you've ever heard of Winter Music Conference. It happens every year. It'll be happening next month in Miami. Winter Music Conference happens and then Ultra Music Conference happens, and it's all house dance. So I was 13, 14 and I was on stage with Barbara Tucker, CeCe Peniston.
Oh my God.
Like those are family friends. And I was like, my dad's like, you don't know how famous they are. And I was like, who are these ladies? Like, I'm like, if they're so famous, what are they doing on stage with us? Like, but I didn't realize also growing up in it, I didn't realize, how many people knew my dad either. So I was like, they're on stage with us. Like, and now, obviously, in my older years, I'm like, man, what a crazy time. Very famous producers like Little Louis Vega and Lou Gorbea, who are like very, these are people who were collaborating with my dad, and we'd be going to their parties. And it was such a vibe. And I started performing with my dad. I was going to places I was too young to get into. And my dad would have to pull the like, hey, you know that flyer, the face, that girl, that's her, you know, and I would hear my voice on the speakers. I remember one time my face was on the flyer for the party and they still wouldn't let me in. And I had to sit in the car for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
Yes. It was a place called Club Milk in Miami. And this is obviously way back when, and I was way underage. And yeah, I had to sit out with a family friend. I had to sit out there and wait for my dad to make his rounds at the place and come back out. And yeah, I did a remix to one of my dad's songs called Fly, and I was playing the piano. And once people started hearing it, I remember that was the first thing I ever got pressed on vinyl. My very first, I guess, single, you could say.
Yeah.
And from there, I just took off. Like, I was finishing college, but I was also working in studios as a reference vocalist. There's not too much of that going on anymore.
No.
But if you were a writer back then and you couldn't sing, you hired somebody like me. And then my voice was on the record that they shopped when they would shop demos to, you know, your Sierra, your Kelly Rowland, your Mariah. Like, you're trying to sell these records to these artists. So it had to be fully done. And I was in the booth in my nursing school scrubs cutting reference vocals, but I knew once I got out of school I had my own path to chart, and I immediately started recording my project.
That's cool, because even I find sometimes, I just spoke to another songwriter the other day, and so she used to do the same thing, because she used to read the credits, and then she saw that in Atlanta there was like 2 women that kept doing background vocals, and they were session singers. And so she's like, they need help, so I'm gonna go to Atlanta and I'm gonna do these sessions and stuff like that. And a lot of times they would keep her background vocals on the track even after it got sent to other artists. So did that happen as well? Like, they would keep some of your vocals?
No, but I wish it did. I wish it did, because, you know, then you get credit that way. I mean, it might have, and I never knew about it. I cut so many songs. Yeah, it was a very interesting time.
Wow. Okay. And so then how did you get to The Voice?
Voice was one of those opportunities that came to me. I have to say to anybody who sees this or listens, I tell everybody, please know that all the best opportunities are things that just show right up to you. I didn't audition for that show. I had no interest in doing it. The casting director called my phone in 2016, out of the blue, Michelle McNulty from McNulty Casting. And she says, I saw a video of you on YouTube singing in Russia, because I was doing shows all over the place.
Yeah.
And she said, we would love to have you on the show. And she said, I had to ask a friend I was asking around to find out if you were signed. I found someone who knew you. They gave me your phone number. And I said, no. And okay. I was on chemo at the time because I had cancer.
Okay.
And I think for them, you know, no slight to them, but they are producing TV. So, you know, for me to answer the phone and say no because I'm doing chemo, it was like, oh, this is a fantastic story. How sick are you? And do you think you could still? And I was like, no. They called me 3 times before I finally agreed. My dad was like, you know, if they're calling this many times, it could be a sign. And I had major abdominal surgery. And he said, listen, you know, you're not doing anything else right now. I had released Bedroom Chronicles in 2014. And through the rest of 2014, 2015, I had been gigging. It was like a snowball effect. That was then when putting out music was organic. All you had to do was post it on Twitter, and the next thing you know, it was in Vibe. It was on Essence, because people were just scouting, listening for music. They were actually doing what journalists do. Mm-hmm. There was of course payola. There's so many different versions of payola, but they were just the people who especially ran R&B blogs did it because they loved it, you know, and they were just looking for any and everything. So she just randomly found me. But at the time I had such good traction going, but once I got diagnosed with cancer, everything had stopped. So my dad's like, I think this is a really good opportunity to just give it a go, see what can come of it. And the rest was history. Next thing I know, I was, you know, on TV and got to meet Alicia, and Alicia was literally the entire reason why I started playing piano when I was 13, because I got the songbook, the actual piano charts for songs in A minor. I bought it from Sam Ash, like actually the music section, bought the book. I still have it somewhere. and my dad had gotten a piano. Some lady was just giving away her free piano. And I literally sat there and tinkered away at it, and I taught myself how to play. I already was taking music theory classes, so I just put 1 and 2 together.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like a whirlwind, crazy opportunity of a lifetime.
That's so crazy how all of that came together. Like you taking up piano, you guys getting a free piano to learn, and then years later, here you are on Team Alicia. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. But then, so like, what was going through your head? Because you had the stomach surgery, cancer, chemo. That's a lot to go through, and then go from that to being on a competition show.
I always say God will give you beauty for your ashes. And it was very interesting because just literally the year prior, the day that I actually auditioned, like did the blind audition part where the chairs turn, the day that we filmed it, the year before that, that week I had started chemo. And I was like, where I was a year ago, I would have never imagined that I'd be doing this. And I remember like when the chairs turned and everything was done and I left the set and they were driving me back to the hotel and I was just crying. Like, I can't believe, how God would use this and take this story. And now it's going to be cast out to millions of people all over the world to see this. And the ripple effect was then so many people who had the same rare cancer who were not getting care and were in like a desolate town, USA, or who were told there was no help, were like, where did you go? Who helped you? Mm-hmm. And I became an advocate for people with neuroendocrine cancer. And I started pointing a lot of people in the right direction in terms of care. And I connected with an amazing network of people. And I even connected with the drug company that creates the medication that people with this cancer take. So I mean, God really does give you beauty for your ashes. I feel like it was put to such good use. The suffering that I had was put to such good use. And if I helped one person, it was worth it.
I'm happy that you overcame that. And then also to be able to provide that information for people is such a blessing to be able to help others. So not only like, yes, we're here for your voice, we love your voice, but to also do more than just provide us with music, I think that's something that's really special that you were able to do for people too. So, wow, that's that's an amazing story. Your audition though, I remember watching the audition because you performed Etta James.
Yes, all I could do is cry.
Yes, love that song. I love Etta James. Is that something that you chose, or did the producers, like, did the show want you to do that song?
You give them a list of things you'd like to sing, and they make a strong suggestion of what they would like you to sing. I'm sure you can fight back on, oh, I really don't want to sing that, but who wants to make the producers mad? Not me. So they said, oh, that's what you're singing. And I said, okay. And I felt like I did it justice, but I just remember thinking to myself, if they don't turn, I'm just gonna die.
Yeah, no, if they didn't turn, like sometimes those shows really get me so mad. I understand it's a show, but if nobody turned, I think I would have turned off my TV because that would have been crazy.
I think if you were to see some of the behind the scenes of that show, there would be things that would probably enrage you, or like, how did that happen? It can't be. We're living in an alternate universe. But in the end, their job is to make fantastic TV, and that they do. And my season won an Emmy, which is, the crazy part? You spend so much time on that show. We're supposed to be the bread and the butter of that show. You don't get the Emmy.
You don't even, not even like a certificate, like a participation ribbon.
No, we got best live competition reality series, whatever it was. Nope. I said, son of a gun, I could be on my way to an EGOT. I'm trying to check one off the list.
Damn.
No,
man. Right? Oh my gosh. That is so crazy to me. Mm-hmm. I feel like everybody should get at least, they could print a paper.
I know. Like, part of the cast, something. Yeah. No.
Whatever. I would put it in the bio. I would still put it there.
Emmy Award winner.
I would still put it there. You were on the show. You're
right. I might have to think about editing my bio after that.
Yeah.
You're right.
Um, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so one thing that you were talking about, like they have to make, good TV for the viewers to watch. And it's so funny because we just like got that documentary on America's Next Top Model that showed all the craziness that was happening and certain people's experiences and stuff like that. So I always want to know now, what would your advice be for somebody that's thinking of auditioning, or if maybe they get a call to join in on the show, because sometimes they can use whatever you're going through for good TV and that could mess with you mentally. So, what advice do you have for people?
I've actually encountered a few people, or people have hit me up in DMs like, oh, I'm auditioning, or the show is seeking me out. Like, what can you tell me? And my best advice always is know who you are before you go there, and remember what you have and what you don't have, because what you come with is what you leave with and nothing more. If you think that this show is going to so drastically change your life, you are going to be highly disappointed. If you were not an artist who had a vision and knew what kind of songs you wanted to, you're not going to leave with a vision. If you have a style, if you are truly an artist and you have a style, you know what you like to sing, you know how you want to appear, it's amazing, because then you put that brand in front of millions of people's eyes, and your hope is to take as many fans from the show and convert them to your personal fan, because these people that watch the shows and are obsessed with them, they are fans of the show. And your job is to quickly convert them while you have their attention and make them fans of you, and not fans of you singing Etta James. Fans of Felicia singing Felicia Temple's music, and I love her new song. So I made sure when I came there, even though I was on chemo and I was recording an album, because it was like the one thing I could do to distract myself, and it was called The Balancing Act. So I came to the show with an album that was done.
Okay.
And I, behind the scenes, went and hired a publicist while I was still on the show.
Smart.
To start for when I got eliminated. And she did some kind of back channel things for me, made sure all my stuff got verified, because I was on TV. So it was very easy to get me, blue check verified on every social. And the contract tells you that you can't release music until 30 days after the last episode airs. What day did the project come out? 30 days after the last episode aired. So as I was already teasing, I'm off the show, but new music is coming. It's coming on this day. And it worked well. And I was able to go on like a mini tour right after, like, boom. I remember I did shows in Seattle and LA. Like, I was on the move. But if you're expecting to get that from the show, if I didn't have that music ready, it would have just been like, oh, she's another girl who did reality singing competition. So know what you have. I even joked that, the last episode that I was on was a live elimination, and they had put all these extensions in my hair, and you go back to wardrobe and you're taking off your things, and they nicely do. They actually give you any outfits they customize, they give to you.
Oh, that's
because
nice.
they custom tailor things for you. The accessories and the shoes you don't get to keep. But just as I thought I was getting out the door, you're already sad, right? You're crying. You've been eliminated on live TV in front of millions of people. Your phone's blowing up. You shouldn't have got kicked off or whatever. You're just over the whole thing. Man, I was almost out the door. That lady said, I'm so sorry, but we need the hair back.
The hair? Girl.
I said, ma'am, really? She said, yeah, because we reuse this stuff.
Duh.
I'm going through enough. Now you want me to be bald too? No. Yes.
This is the last thing I would expect to happen.
Do you see me right now? Just thinking about it. I said, I've been through enough. Another girl, I won't name who it was. She'll remain nameless. She looked at me. I looked at her. They had caught me. She ran out the door. She said, they're not taking my hair. And she got out of there. She left. She made it home with that hair. I was not so fortunate. The next day, you on a plane with no hair. No makeup, it's terrible.
That's wow. That is the last thing I would expect for them to do, to stop you before leaving. Because you're going through so many different emotions. You're leaving a show that you've been on for I don't know how long, and give back the hair.
Give back the hair, honey. If I'm lying, I'm flying. It's a funny memory now, but at the time I was like, really?
Yeah, I would have been upset.
You just punch in the air. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
And kicking you while you're down. Oh my gosh. That is insane. Oh, wow. But yes, the advice that you just gave and the plan that you made for yourself going on that show is really smart because I always find I'll be like really into certain obviously contestants on the show, and then after they get eliminated, we don't hear from them. Sometimes not at all, sometimes we do, but I think that's really smart that you already started the process of like getting the publicist, recording, having that music ready to be put out. Because that's what I was going to ask too, like how do you keep those fans that were voting for you and cheering for you, like how do you keep them along your journey, because you gain so much fans from The Voice.
I think it can also be overwhelming for a lot of contestants if you have not, if you were just a person who sang and you never have released any commercially released any music ever, and you don't know the back end of the business at all, you're thrust into this. You're going to the studio, they're recording versions. At the time it was for iTunes. Now it's just, it'll be on all streaming platforms. The version of the song that you sang that week. So you're going to the studio, you're on this strict schedule. There are people there to dress you. There are people there who care about your hair. They're going, meetings for learning how to deal with the press. And at the time, how to Instagram Live was a brand new feature when I was, back then in 2017. So that they didn't even know how to police that. It was like, you're not supposed to be singing on social media, but you could get on live and like talk to people, and they didn't really know like what to do with that at the time. But you're doing all of that, and then you leave the show and you come back, and it's like you're not sure if you can reach that level of, that's why you see a lot of people, they did the show and they were amazing on the show, but 6 months or 8 months later, when you look at their page, they're just continuing to post their performances from the show because it's shot so beautifully. You've got high-end cameras, you've got the celebrities there, whoever the coaches were, and like that gets all of the engagement, and they feel like if it's just them with their camera just singing, like nobody's going to pay attention to that. It feels kind of like impossible to get to that level of like, you were styled perfectly and your makeup was great, and you get back home and it just is you doing it all, and it can be very intimidating, especially if that's not something that you've done before.
That is a lot to take in, especially if you don't have that experience prior to that. But I think just hearing you and how you planned everything out, I think a lot of people could learn from that. And hopefully they take that into account if they are going to choose that path to go on one of those types of shows. So that's really good. I do want to talk about A Soft Place to Land because I did mention I love that project. Still listen to it till this day. The first song that I heard was Don't Want to Be Lonely. That was,
Yes.
yeah, that was the first one. And I was like obsessed with that song. I had it on repeat. It just, from the music, and then the lyrics are just so like honest. It's such a like a real human experience that a lot of people are in. I find nowadays you always hear about these situations. So yeah, I truly love the record, the whole project. But yeah, tell me about A Soft Place to Land. Like, how did that whole record come together?
A Soft Place to Land came from me actually writing about what the process has been in being in love, being in a relationship, being married, and getting divorced, and figuring out what life is like, learning to date again, and realizing in the end that you have to be your own soft place to land. There's so much discussion today about women saying, oh, I want this soft life. I want this soft life. And I had to, when you're coupled up with someone for so long, that becomes like, that's your emotional support person. And when they're gone and you're like looking to your left and your right and there's nobody there but you go through all these different, it's like all the stages of grief, right? So you go through all these different stages of loss. And, at first, you're angry, you're bitter. Then you go through this. Literally, I remember I was in my brand new apartment and I was in my kitchen. That song actually started me at the piano, and it was actually slow because it was like very melancholy and very like, I was playing and I was like, I don't want to be lonely. Like it was a very like, and Obi, who is my producer extraordinaire, he goes, don't hate me. We're speeding this up. Like, this is a bop, and we're going to give it like some Silk Sonic vibes. And he's like, everything can't be slow, because if you leave it to me, everything will be slow. But I was like with my cocktail, just like the lone, like in my kitchen, like just singing my little heart out, because it's true. You get to the point where you're just like, anybody would like, just oh God, like I just don't want to be alone, to then realizing it's all right to be like, I'm actually kind of like this. I enjoy this. And if someone comes along, when they come along, I'll enjoy it. But for right now, this is okay. And I am my own soft place to land. So it's, if you've ever seen, it's a short series. It's like scenes from a marriage. It's a very, I think it's on Netflix maybe. It came out quite a few years ago, but every scene that they show you is like scenes out of order. Like at one time, the marriage is like really good. Then the next scene is like they're fighting. And I feel like A Soft Place to Land kind of mirrors that. It doesn't tell you the story in order, but it's all the different phases and taking some accountability because, men will always say women don't apologize.
That's a lie.
That's a lie. But I said, let me get my sorry off. Obi, who produced it, he said, oh, because a woman hasn't apologized since Nita Baker. I said, you know what? I said, we say sorry. Y'all just don't hear it. Y'all don't want to hear it. We say sorry, and I'm standing firm on that. So I'm like, for everybody who says women don't apologize, for what it's worth, I said, for what it's worth, I'm sorry, See, some of them wouldn't even take that as an apology. Like, what do you mean for what it's worth, But yes, I apologize for all the women, for the men who say we don't apologize.
No, that's amazing. You also have poems from R.H. Sin.
Yes.
He's a New York best-selling author. I thought it was really cool because we don't always get that in projects these days. So how did that partnership come about?
I knew that I wanted some kind of interlude. Because I wanted, everything for me is, I'm always thinking of the visual and what it creates for people. I'm somebody who, I listen to the music and I enjoy it, but I will just sit with my headphones and I'll listen to the lyrics. I'll listen to what's happening. So I wanted people to be able to create the story in their mind that sets you up for the song. And especially when you're listening to Miles of Silence, the project goes from Can't Stop Loving You to all of a sudden I'm talking and like things are not good. And you can tell, and I can tell every time I've watched someone listen to it for the first time, it's like it hits them like the moment when they knew something was really wrong with their relationship. Like, we're here, but we are so far apart. And then just as it breaks, and then you get into two ships, and it's just like, I've seen people like relive, people who are in happy relationships, like relive a heartbreak of like knowing the relationship has gone too far and you can't save it. But to be able to get people to that place, I feel like having those poems, people, what did Beyonce say? People don't make albums anymore.
Mm-mm.
And I want people to feel like it is a cohesive story that's being told here. And it's not just record after record, but it gives you a break and space to see.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I think it was beautifully done. And like I said, and you said also, we don't get that in albums anymore. There's hardly any interludes. There's no poems. It's very different nowadays. So to get that was really like nice to hear. So that is something on the project that I really did appreciate. You incorporating that and weaving that into the album between the songs. I did want to talk about, you mentioned Can't Stop Loving You. So there's also a video, if you guys didn't know, that you can check out on YouTube that's also beautifully done. So if you could talk about that song, how it came together, because I really loved the lyrics in that song too.
So Can't Stop Loving You is actually a really sonic decision. We were very intentional about the way that we made this album. And we pretty much wanted every song to have a sister. So Colorblind and Don't Want to Be Lonely would be sisters. Can't Stop Loving You and Alone Together would be sisters. Miles of Silence and Him From Within would be sisters. For What It's Worth and A Soft Place to Land, the song, would be sisters. I knew when I made Alone Together, I wanted another song along that vibe. And I don't know about you, but I am obsessed with Alex Isley.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I listened to so much Alex Isley and a lot of India Shawn. I love India. That's my girl. I listened to and I was like, this type of R&B, this smooth R&B that's not overbearing or doing too much is what I want. And I wanted that song in particular, Can't Stop Loving You. I felt like I was in my lyric bag.
Mm-hmm.
And especially second verse, your loving left a mark on me forever like a tattoo. I spend my days singing Sade, the sweetest taboo. If I'm the flower, you're the water. Your loving reached the root, and I only bloom for you. And I'm like, I wrote that myself.
No, it's so good.
It's so interesting because behind the scenes, I am very good friends with someone. I can't name him, but he works for some place that's really important in music, and he is always my go-to person that listens to my projects before I put them out.
Okay.
And when I said, listen down to the project, as he was listening to, he's sending me minute-long voice notes. Are you kidding me? This is incredible, and Can't Stop Loving You, I think, was like his number one or number two for the project. And now, of course, I made my own decisions on like what the focus records were. And funny enough, Can't Stop Loving You ended up being single number 5 because I had a certain order that I wanted to present it for the time of year that I presented stuff and what was going on. I was very intentional about when and what I was releasing. Can't Stop Loving You forced its way as a single because I released the project in November.
Mm-hmm.
I released the fourth being technically, I guess you could say 3, but the fourth single was the focus record, which was 2 Ships, which was like to me the heart of the project. But Can't Stop Loving You for a couple months straight has been like the number 2 song streamed over of all my songs on all the different DSPs. And I was like, okay, so people like what they like. It's always interesting. Sometimes you'll see a spike in a song because it's the top song of your album. Yeah. So it's the first thing that people are pressing play for, but they're not necessarily engaged with it. For that song to be like number 3 on the track list and like, okay, so you intentionally went to that song and people were so happy when I put the video out because they're like, I've been loving this record.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's been a great response, and Apple Music put it on their Love Music playlist for Valentine's Day, which is like perfection because that's exactly what I made it for. And I dropped it that day on purpose because I was like, what a better record to push on Valentine's Day weekend than Can't Stop Loving You. And with a sexy video. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the video too, because like the song is just beautifully done. Like I love it. I was hooked when I heard it, when I heard the project. Like I had to always go back to that record. It's so good. And then looking at the video, because it's a simple video, but it's sensual. Like it's just well done. Like who came up with the concept for that video?
So I did. And
oh, cool.
All the videos that you see, even for Don't Want to Be Lonely, I come up with what I want to see. And, I'm usually the person that does all the wardrobe, the styling. A lot of times I do my own hair. But Dexter Albert is who has done, actually, he did the Don't Want to Be Lonely video. He did Can't Stop Loving You. He did an older video of mine called Touch. He did another project. He also did How You Do That, which is like one of my most watched videos. So we've done a lot of work together. But as far as the video itself, I came to him and I was like, listen, I have a really simple idea, but I feel like it'd be really pretty and I need it to be really close up and I need the whole thing to be blue. Because the first thing I say is if your loving was a shade, I'd say it's ocean blue. And I was like, I just feel like something about that blue light and like being drenched in it and just like sweat on skin and just dewy, glowy. There's something about that where you're not showing too much, you're not doing too much, but it leaves people with this feeling of like, I didn't even see anything, but why do I feel like this? Like, yeah. It feels like it's kind of bordering the edge of inappropriate, but what did she actually do? She didn't do anything. And I've had videos that are way more over the top and show more skin and all that, but I was like, this is just, you can feel the sensuality without it doing too much. And low-key, not gonna lie, wanted to show off my back muscles. Yeah, I was like, you know what? My lats look really good. And he thought, I was like, listen, I gotta like, let me take off my shirt. I'm like holding a towel. Someone's dropping water behind me. It was a whole thing. But we knocked it out in a couple of hours and it was actually really fun and very stress-free. I'm super proud of that video.
Yeah, no, it was super dope. It's always great as a fan to have a song that you really like and then the video matches. Like it's just all goes together. So yeah, it's super cool. And for you to come up with that concept as well, so like your vision comes to life for the whole thing, it's really cool. I love that.
I'm trying to get people back into, I just refuse to believe that people don't have the the attention span to watch a whole video or to listen to a whole album. I don't want to lose that. Each of my songs I have a vision for, so out of 10 songs on the project, 4 of them have full out videos. I did it that way on purpose, and I'll continue to do it that way. I feel like when people go and they discover you for the first time and they go look at your catalog, you want to give them something to engage them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's great. I feel like it's a lost art, especially music videos, because a lot of them kind of follow the same pattern. There's no creativity with the videos anymore. So it's something that I really miss. So that when I do see artists like really putting in that work with their videos, I really do appreciate that. And I know there's several people that still appreciate a good music video. So definitely keep them coming. Another song that I wanted to talk about is the title track, A Soft Place to Land, because that talks about so much, but I love it because it talks about you like finding peace and loving yourself. And I want to know, like, how, with everything that you've gone through, from what you said, cancer diagnosis and going through a divorce and other things that you mentioned in the song, like, how were you able to come out on the other side, loving yourself and finding that peace? Because so many people go through the same things, and it's hard for them to think that they're going to make it to another side.
I think I've fallen on the side of a lot of where a lot of women especially are, that time when you are in your 30s and you have a vision of where and what you want your life to be. You think you should have all these things by this certain time. And I played by the book, so to speak, right? I finished school. I got the good job, I found the guy, we got married, we bought the house, we did all the things. We had the empty room waiting for the baby, all of those things. And when you get divorced, it's kind of like you almost feel like you uncheck a major life box. And it took a lot of time to feel okay with that, because I felt like I lost like a championship medal, like the embarrassment, I guess, of what I felt like I should have at this age and what I thought I'd accomplish by now. But it almost feels like I jumped timelines. And you never know, when I took the jump and left that life, you are jumping and you have no idea what's at the bottom of that cliff. You just know wherever it is that you are, you can't stay there and you don't belong there. And I jumped and I found peace on the other side. And it just took some time sitting with myself. And I didn't even realize that there were so many other people in my position, whether it's, oh, I thought I would be a mom by now. Or, people tell themselves, oh, by 30, I'm going to have the house. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And they're like, I'm nowhere near even finding somebody. I can't even meet a man. I let the DoorDash man drop my food at the door. Nobody's going to come get me or save me.
Yeah.
A lot of people are feeling this sense of loneliness or this yearning for this life that they thought they were going to have. And it's okay to feel that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just have this knowing, and maybe it's from having cancer in the past and seeing how everything turned out for my good. There have been so many signs and God winks of like, woo, dodged the bullet there. I did the right thing. I believe, like I said, that God gives you beauty for your ashes. And just in that same sense, I got divorced and I was able to make this music. Yeah. I would not have been able to tell this story. I would not be able to make a song like A Soft Place to Land. I always feel like God takes my mess and he works it out. And I just have to give God credit for that, because I don't know where I'd be if I wasn't like deeply rooted in my faith, because it takes a toll on your mental health. Of having cancer, getting divorced was worse.
Wow. I think you said so much in there, but I think it's just a lot of people. I think also too, that's why so many people connect to this project, going through different things, or even feeling like, even for myself, because I always feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm running out of time. And it's like, no, you're not running out of time. You don't have to go by society's expectations. Like everything happens for a reason. So you are where you're supposed to be, and, just go from there and kind of not trying to control everything.
Yeah.
So that's
We have such big plans,
yeah.
and God really laughs at our plans. Like, oh, okay, that's cute. Oh, that's what you thought you were gonna be doing? No. So I think it's being really present, being aware. I've read a lot of books. Shout out to Questlove, okay? Amir is a good friend of mine, and he's always sending amazing book recommendations. If there's anything I could recommend to people, it's The Big Leap.
Okay.
That book really just did something for me. Yeah. Reading a lot of books and learning to be okay with me, and learning that it's okay to take some risks and maybe not be exactly where I want to be, but being aware, being present,
Mm-hmm.
and not always moving the goalpost on your happiness. We're really good at that as humans, aren't we? Right? It's always, I'm going to be happy when insert whatever. I'll be happy when school is done. I'll be happy when the summer comes. I'll be happy when I get a man. I'll be happy when I get that new job. I'll be happy when I make this amount of money. And what happens when you get those things? You find new things to insert in that space, right? So it's like, if you don't say, I deserve happiness right now, right where I am, if you have to learn that, because you're always going to move the goalpost on what makes you happy. If you don't realize, I deserve happy right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And enjoying the moment. Yeah, definitely. No, that's amazing. That's a word. So thank you for
You're
sharing that.
welcome.
Now that the project has been out into the world, we have 4 music videos. What's next for you for this year? Are you planning anything special? Are you still working this record?
I am still working this record. If there's one thing Kalani taught us this year, she's like, people don't push records anymore. They just put the song out, couple weeks, we're gonna talk about it, and then everybody's like, so when are you doing something else? Do you know how long it took me to do this? Do you know how much money it costs for me to make this and to push it and to get it out to the world? There, as an indie artist, I mean, what, maybe 0.5% of the world, maybe not even that, has heard this music. To everyone else, everything that I have is brand new. And this is not a new thing for me to be putting out music and doing videos. I have music, I've put out 6-song projects. This is my first 10-song projects, but every single project had music videos, every single one. So for some people, and I learned that lesson really good when I re-released the original Bedroom Chronicles that came out in 2014. It's on Spotify and Apple and all those places, and it says 2019 release because I remastered it and I put it out. And some people 5 years later were like, yo, this new Felicia Temple it's 5 years old. I just, did a new master and put it out.
Yeah.
So what we think is old and what we're tired of working, I want people to see my face and start humming my song because they can't help it. Because every time I post a video, they see or they hear my music. They see my music video. And the people who fall off or don't engage with that, they disappear. But I think over time, the right people, your fan base finds you. And it's my job to keep giving people my music. Olivia Dean was pushing Man I Need. Mm-hmm. They said since like 2023, footage of her performing at 10 people. Her full band, she was jamming out when 10 people there. And those 10 people were enjoying themselves.
Yeah,
but
of course.
You have to have that same resolve. So I always am working on new music, but I have full intentions on people discovering me. This is, to me, a discovery period. People learning who I am, learning about me. And I think the best way to do that is for people to get to know me and my story. People really relate to authenticity, or like, yes, girl, I've been through that. Like, not everything can be polished and perfect. I'm probably a lot more live coverage of me with my band performing these records live and just kind of reinventing it over and over again until people are like, I really like that song. And they go, look, oh my God, she released this a year ago. Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that you said that because I feel like artists move on too fast from projects. And I feel like sometimes too, that's why I get overwhelmed on Fridays with the new music because there's so much. And it's like, and then people want my opinion. And I'm like, wait a minute now, let me sit with the record and really dive in and listen to it. I feel like it's a lot. So I'm happy that you're still promoting this project. You're still working this project to get more eyes and ears on it. So I really appreciate that. I hope more people start doing that instead of just putting something out and then moving on to the next.
Yeah, and I will drag it out. You know, for me, Can't Stop Loving You, technically it came out in November when everything else came out. And my team and I pushed it as a single and we're able to get it playlisted, a lot of places. Shout out to Pandora and SoundCloud and Audio Mac and, Apple for supporting something that was already out for 3 months. But because I positioned myself with it and put out a music video and had full plans to, promote the record. So like, I feel like, why not,
Yeah. No, super smart. I love it. I'm here for it.
Thank
And I
you.
can't wait to see like live renditions of everything. So I think that would be super cool too. So I'm here for it all. How can people support you and follow you?
The best way people can support me right now is actually, like I said, I will not give up on old school things. This is the first time in a couple of years that I actually printed up physical CDs.
Oh,
There are real CDs. I actually printed out physical CDs and they come with a digital NFC chip. So when you tap your phone to this CD, the music comes up digitally for you. And I also put music videos and all kinds of other things on here. And this is your real old school. I'm talking about there are credits in this, credits for every single thing, liner notes. These are sold on my merch store. And I'm actually wearing some of my merch right now.
you got to
And
show us.
it says make peace with the pieces.
Oh, I love that.
And I have hoodies and shirts that say find yourself a soft place to land. So my merch store is actually the best way to support me right now, whether you're buying a physical CD or you're buying clothing. Of course, streaming. Follow me on @Felicia Temple everywhere on all social media platforms. Yeah, come along for the ride. Tell a friend.
I'm definitely going to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell another friend. Definitely. And so I love that you have merch. I love that you have the physical CDs and that there's so much included in the CD because I remember putting CDs in like the computer and having like secret music and music videos and video games on there. So I think that is super cool that you've included that in the package of the album. So definitely going to be checking that out and going to the merch store. So that's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. The link is in my bio on all my socials to get to all things Felicia, merch store, YouTube, all that good stuff.
Amazing. I love that. Well, thank you so much again for talking to me and taking time out of your day to speak with me. I really do appreciate it. Anything that I could do to help, I'm always here. I'm always excited to support you. So thank you so much again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I had such a good time talking to you. I hope I didn't yap too much because, honey, I'm a yapper. I'll start talking in a heartbeat.
Listen, I could listen to you guys talk all day. So this is why I probably have a podcast. I love learning things. I love knowing behind the scenes stuff. So this is a treat for me all the time. So yap away. I do not mind.
Well, thank you so much.
Of course, and everybody that's listening and watching, this is the Total R&B Podcast. My name is Loreena. You can find us on Instagram, sometimes TikTok when I post, @total.rnb and on YouTube @Total R&B Podcast. And I will be back with a brand new interview.